Hello and welcome to the Neville Richards Premier League. First week of action on Saturday, Matt. It was a real buzz around the place, wasn't it?
There was, Hazy, thank you. And welcome to our round one recap. There was a massive buzz around the club. Everyone was up and about. The banter was great. It's always friendly banter. We're not getting in there trying to put people off, but just putting a few little curveballs into people's minds when they went out there. But yeah, great day. Scoring was on the below average side in general. It was a tough day. The wind got up and yeah, very tough conditions.
I don't want to be seen to making excuses. It was pretty blowy out there.
Yeah, it was. Well, you would have been perfect with your little low ball flight into the wind. But and I reckon one player who probably would have excelled as well. Sorry, two players, Chris James and Shirley Bell. They hit it quite low under the wind, so I reckon they would have been in their element on Saturday.
I was pumped. I actually, before we get into it, I just wanted to say how good it was to have it back. Like, just to hear people rabbiting on was great.
It was, yeah, it was great. When in the clubhouse afterwards, people who don't sort of normally play together or sort of socialise, they were finding out how they their teammates went, things like that, which is what the event's all about.
The beauty of Premier League. Well, let's get into it. It was a big match to start with between the Hookers and the Peakers. Do you remember who you went for here?
I actually went for the Peakers, Mark. I did go through the our guesses last week, and I think I was 3 from 4 last week. But anyway, we won't let my head get any bigger. But the Peakers, they got over the line. First win for the season. I think it took them about 8 rounds last year, so their recruits came in well. But the Peakers 194 defeated the Hookers on a lowly 178. Very disappointing from them.
Flat from the Hookers.
Yeah, the Hookers had 11 players play while the Peakers had 12. For the Hookers, and this probably shows where the difference is. Like for the Hookers, best score for their team was Helen Powell and Mickey McNeil, 32 points. Yeah. That was the best counting score. Followed by Neil Ryan on 31, Jill Barker 30, the Frenchman Marley, Matthew Miles had 27, and one I highlighted last week who I thought might have lifted was Peter Vogel, 26, and that counted for their team. That shows how poor their scoring was. Pete did come in and abuse me for talking him up the week before, but you're better than that, Pete. I reckon this week you're back on the board. But for the Peakers, Murray Wiley, 38 points.
On debut,
38. I think he shot maybe even par or 1 over, something like that. So 38 points for him, which is great. The Flange, Ian Flanders, 32. Did sort of lose a couple towards the end. Johnny Leading, 32. Brian Bell, 32. And David Milne and Rob Stiglbauer on 30. So you can see the difference in the scoring there between the two. Interestingly there, Murray, with his score of 38, was 6 points better than anyone else in that contest.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so great effort there for you, Muzz. As I said, lowest scoring match of the round. They struggled for momentum. Scores early on were evenly matched in the morning, with only Flanders counting from the AM players for the Peakers, while Malsey was the only AM from the Hooker who counted there. So the PM players sort of did the best for their teams there. As we've seen in previous years, it's hard to win if you have counting scores under 30.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you putting sort of a warning shot across the Hookers' bows yet? Or not?
Well,
really?
I did walk into the pro shop this morning and Jill's already off her team. She goes, I think I've got the duds. And I said, what, you're off after round 1? She's got no faith, but they've got a lot of strength in there. But some players who were given some hype prior to the season disappointed. Jeff Evans for the Hookers, he only had 25. Dave Hutton, 23. And then for the Peakers, Digger James, struggling with a snap hook. Smother snap hooks here, could only amass 24.
Oh.
So, but yeah, we can't really report much on this one except for Murray Wiley's great effort.
Yeah, well,
everyone else will be pretty disappointed with their performance.
Well, that takes us to the next game, Matt, which was the Warriors and the Tornadoes. Who did you pick in this one?
Oh, I went the Warriors. This was one I just missed out on. So yeah, you got that one there, Hazy. Tornadoes 191, defeated the Warriors 181. Warriors had 10 players, Tornadoes had 11. For the Warriors, same thing, low scoring again. Josh Bowen and Pete DeFazio, 32 high scorers for the Warriors. Cam O'Keefe, 30. Julie Milne, 29. Grant Peacock, 29. And Noel Pike, 29, scored for the Warriors. While the Tornadoes, Stuart Madden, only 33. Alan Kerry, 33. Bernie Reid, 32. The Sword, 31. Ian Francis, 31, and Ando Wooten and Warren Stevenson, they also were 31, which was a counting score for them. And just remember, it is only 6 scores that count towards the team score. So,
but you and your generosity highlight tyres for sixth if required.
Just to give him a little bit of love. But,
You're all about the love, aren't
I
you?
am, and I have to actually make a public apology too after last week's video. I questioned the commitment and the intestinal fortitude of Warren Stevenson. Highlighted he was down to play with Grant and pulled out and wasn't going to be participating. Actually booked himself in the morning.
Oh,
Yes.
even in the high winds.
Yeah, so he went out and played, which was great. So apologies, Warren. Don't mean to cast aspersions on your character, but it was good to see you turn up. But yeah, the Tornadoes were too consistent across the board.
They looked like they just had more scoring power generally.
Yeah, and I think it was probably the case with a lot of golfers through Saturday. It was about what ifs.
Okay.
I had a lot of people saying, "Oh, I 3-putted 5 greens, and I did this." Boxhead Madden missed multiple short putts. Then we talked about Warren Stevenson and Grant Peacock rinsed balls in the water on 17 and 18. Each of them there. Peacock struggled on the greens with multiple 3 putts. Maybe he should putt more instead of dressing in those
Surely he got dressed.
colourful pants that we can see here.
Surely he got dressed in the dark.
No, he did, but at least he got into the team colour, which was great.
That's true. True.
Yeah, and this is how I suppose when we have the focus of a player, and we'll go back to Warren Stevenson. After 6 holes, had 11 points. But that was only for the 9 holes, Mark.
Oh.
Plays off 6,
Yes.
had 11 points on the front 9. Rallied, he was an early contender for the PPP team. Rallied, had 20 on the back 9. And then had a wipe on 18 after rinsing it in the water there.
20 with a wipe.
20 with a wipe.
That's impressive.
Some of the disappointments we saw, newcomer Scott Hopgood, I think Flanders got into his ear. He only had 25.
That'd be enough to put anyone off, to be fair.
Ray Liniger 25, Craig Connolly 28, Jacob Blennerhassett 21.
Ooh, Jacob.
Yeah, not very good there. But then I suppose one that you'd look at who was disappointing, she was a paid player for the day, Joy Francis, 28. And when we look at this video here, how's the tripe on this shot? How could she put that up? She should be embarrassed about taking money for that. So 28 for her, that didn't count. So, but yeah, Joy, you are better than that over the bunkers.
That is true. You should be. Let's move on, Matty. Look, this match promised so much from the Goblins against the Crusaders, but realistically, from the little Granny's Corner team, it failed to deliver, didn't
It did. The Goblins, Crusaders, last year, both really high-scoring teams. They were there for the grand final, and they both blew it at the last hurdle last year. This year, the Crusaders, they picked up where they were all season. 205, defeated the Goblins 188. Bit of a spanking. Crusaders, 10 players, Goblins had 11, and you were a Goblin this week.
I was a Goblin. Unfortunately, I called this match very early.
You did.
This match was done and dusted in the AM, which was
I
very
think you
disappointing.
made the comment at 11:43 after you'd finished that the match was over, and you were spot on. The Crusaders, they were led by the Drayton medalist. He just does it every time. Peter O'Neill,
The bag man.
38. Stan Maskell, 36. Cliffy McCorkle, 34. Johnny Rowe, 33. Craig Finnemore, 32. And Daniel Hopgood and the Milkman, Joel Lorner, on 32. They were all counting scores. While the Goblins, Justin McGrath, 33. Your good self, 31. Ian Burrell, 30. The Recometer, Rick Edmondson, had a counting score on 30. And Tickle by Dudar Wilson had 30. And then the gun recruit, you were talking about it. He was required to have maybe 48 points for his team to win. Out in the last group, Max Edmondson, he had a counting score on 34.
Well, I watched him play his opening drive here on the 10th, and he bashed it over the hill, and I think he had 84, 85 metres into the 10th.
Would have made bogey, surely.
Did.
Yeah.
Dirty bogey from 85 metres with sandwich in hand, talking it up.
I think his comment, and I quote, "There was a bloody tree in my way for my second shot." Well, that's why you just work around it, Maxie. You shape it in there.
Oh dear. No, to be fair, I mean, it wasn't his sharpest round, but he did carry the can for the Goblins. So,
He did. Yeah, the Crusaders, they absolutely clubbed the Goblins into oblivion. Goblins never in the hunt. The Crusaders looked like being the highest scoring team through the round 2, but they actually got knocked off, which we'll get into later on. To give you an idea of how poor the Goblins were, that 2-time piss poor Portarlington team member Chris James, he had 30 points. He scored more points than 5 Goblins players.
That's extraordinary on so many levels.
And those 5 players were Doreen Ivers, Shirley Bell, Ryan Reynolds. They were all piss poor players as well from last year. David Byrne and Barry Benson. So Jamesy beat all of them.
Did I see Chris James was out to a flyer?
He was. 18 points on the front 9. When he came in the pro shop, he said, well, this is the first round of my new shirt. So he's already talking himself up in that team, but he's actually elevated himself above that so far.
Wow.
So, but whether he can sustain it for 14 rounds, it's going to be interesting. But as we said, Pete O'Neill, 38 points, no wipes.
He's a Premier League machine. He sees the Neville Richards banner and just grows a league.
Oh, he does. We talked about Barry Benson before, 29. With our triangle hole, 16, 17, 18, he had 1.1 point wipe. Shirley Bell only got 24 points. Hazy, 31 for you. Saw you struggled early with a wipe on 6 and 1 point on 7 and 8. Then you rallied hard, and then the triangle got you with a 1 point on 16, a wipe on 17, but 2 on 18. Was a counting score though.
Yeah, could have done better.
So I reckon Steve Evans is happy with you for that one, to get one in.
Yeah, but...
Didn't lead to a win though.
Flat from the Goblins. Pretty disappointed. Sorry about that, crew. But there we go. The last match for decision was the Bullies and the Pirates, and I'm pretty sure that I went for the Pirates.
You did. And grand final rematch. Bullies 205 defeated the Pirates 190. Bullies had 13 players, the Pirates had 12. The Bullies were the highest scoring team, so they win the twin pack of Callaway golf balls, which can be collected from the pro shop. So they were the highest scoring team.
Is that on a count back?
Yeah, on a count back from the Crusaders.
How does that count back work, just for people?
So the count back goes back to the highest scoring player in those two teams, and we had Jackie Rowe on 38 for the Bullies and 38 for Pete O'Neill. But I suppose fortunately for Jackie, she won the count back, and she also wins our Travis Matthew shirt. And also, we've got a little new sponsor on board with us as well.
Yeah, a bit of Great Northern work for you, Jackie. I know that you're probably really big into your Great Northern.
I reckon husband John will take those.
A little stubby holder and a little hat, so that's a good result. Had a good win in Pennant on Friday too, Jackie, in Division 1, so it was a great weekend, well played. We were impressed with that.
Yeah, so Jackie 38, Ross Morland, new player, 36, Stewie Anderson 35, Phil Stevens 33, Richard West 32, and Sean Rodwell and Johnny Wooten on 31, while the Pirates, Lee McMurrich, 38, Lee Mac.
Fantastic score.
Manny Golfers 32.
Do you think he's turned the corner, Lee? Do you think he's going to be like
No, he
consistent
can't. He
scorer?
can't do 2 in a row, so it'll be back to under 30 next week. Manny Golfers 32, Jerry Raviani 31, Darren Heaton 31, and then there was a host on 29. That was a counted score being Peter Scuba Hub, Dennis Wood, Dave Newman, and Gary Brooks. They were all on 29.
Dennis Wood on debut.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing, I would have thought. But what do we say? The Bullies were in control early. Jackie and Stewie Anderson were out. They set the standard for the morning, and the Pirates, who played early, didn't live up to the high expectations, with only Darren Heaton, the best of the morning, with 31. When Lee came in with 38 in the afternoon, it put the Pirates sort of a bit more of an even keel, but that didn't really occur. The Bullies packed too many punches, with Ross Morland in late, Cuz Stevens, Richie West, Rodwell and Wooten as well, but it was a difficult task for the Pirates. The new players struggled to have an impact, with the Bullies, Bill Archer 27 and Sue Gregory for the Pirates 26.
There's some big names on that Pirates team.
There is big names on the Pirates team, but yeah, they just failed to flatter. I suppose we had one, Dale Pollock was unable to play, and he actually paid Yanni Lathouris to play on his behalf.
Yanni is the inaugural Drayton medalist.
Mm-hmm.
He I mean, he's very familiar with this. He would have just put his nose to the grindstone and just ground out a really impressive score, I'm sure.
Yeah, plays off a handicap of 1, had 25 points.
Off 1?
Mm-hmm. Had an 8 on the 15th hole, 2 double bogeys as well. Didn't have a birdie.
Well, we did record this interview after the round, courtesy of Matt Miles TV. Let's have a quick look.
Former Drayton medalist, back in as a ring-in. How'd you go today, Yanni?
Yeah, pretty good. I had about 25 points. Highlight was probably the 15th where I had an 8. And didn't get much better from there.
Surely you're covering the payment made to you?
Oh yeah, well I filled in. Hazy usually fills in, and I don't know if he made 30, so...
He's flat.
Well, I noticed there, Matty, that aside from the score and the admission of the 8, that he didn't look at the camera much.
Is that a guilt, you reckon?
Oh, it could well be. What's the reason for his guilt?
Well, how do I start? He's paid Flea's paid for him to play and represent him. Now, how does Yanni repay him? He goes to the footy Friday night, goes to watch the Pussies get beat, then he proceeds to go out and launch on the beers after the footy.
Oh.
Now, I think the Lord of the Isles, he was seen maybe face down at some stage, but I've also had a strong source inform me that it wasn't just after the game, it was actually pre-game.
Oh.
So he's on the Source pre-game at an establishment here in Portarlington with another Premier League player that is on the launch early. Now, Jake Ginnivan got in the shit last year, was it? Well, when he was a premiership player for Collingwood for going to the races, Jack Ginnivan. Jack, he's a Hawthorn player now, but anyway. But he got in the shit for going out and not having the professionalism.
He was sober at the races.
Yeah, but Yanni was on the juice. So how's that professionalism of the 2022 Drayton medalist? Should be ashamed of himself, his behaviour, and the awkward position he's put Dale in, who gave his trust for him to represent. Yeah. The Pirates, mates. Now, Flea's paid him $200 to represent him on Saturday, and Yanni, you put in that rubbish. Shame on you, Yanni. Shame, shame, shame.
What do you think that Scuba thinks about this with the culture of the Pirates? He's so big on the culture.
Well, if Yanni was in the team as a registered player, I reckon he'd be ostracised.
Is it retrievable, do you think?
Well, I'm not sure whether Yanni will get another Guernsey, or whether anyone's happy to pay for him to do that type of behaviour.
But no damage in the long run?
No, well, only for their team. Like it might just filter through. Like you've got people in the Pirates who could be seen to be easily persuaded to do things like that. Like you got Yanni doing that, and you got Lee McMurrich in the team. Can you have two people that would be doing that together? Darren Heaton, he's probably a little bit more sedate. Dennis Wood, sedate. Yeah, I don't know, but it could end badly for Lee.
So given we last year had the Rickometer, and you can clearly see by this swing that Rick's put all the bad stuff behind him. Well, most of it.
I wouldn't go that far.
We do need a bit of a whipping boy at the moment. We have got a couple of rounds to determine something like this.
Yeah, well, Yanni is flying overseas to live for 3 months. He might even bring that forward so he doesn't have to face the wrath of everybody in Premier League.
Is there anyone else you can consider an early running to take over the Rickometer?
Yeah, maybe Rick's wife Jenny.
Oh, what?
So you don't realise, and you actually played with her, I'm not sure, but she had 21 points on Saturday.
If you look at this putt, it looks like she played pretty well. Yeah,
well, she was solid. She went out in 10 points and she rallied home to be home in 11. She had 4 wipes. 9 one-pointers. She had a birdie in that 21 as well, Hazy.
She did, and it was a really quality birdie
too.
Yeah,
and the triangle, white 2. No good, Jen, you're better than that.
Imagine the Genometer.
Well, could be happening if she puts in another effort like that next week.
Wowee.
Could happen.
All right, well, it's time to take a look at the ladder. There's obviously not too much to discuss at the moment, other than to say the Goblins have copped a nasty whack in the percentage department. But other than that, as you'd expect after round one, fairly tight. And Matty, that'll lead us on to a quick preview of the second round. Things only heat up from here.
Yeah, so we've got the Bullies in third place playing the Tornadoes in fourth. Looks to be a cracking contest with both teams evenly matched. Based off the scoring last week, you think the Bullies would have to go in favourites. Tornadoes will lose fill-in players Ian and Joy Francis. No big loss, losing Joy. And they'll see the return of Yvette Pollock and Fiona Newman. Tornadoes would expect some improvement from their All-Port team member Col Isbell after last week's 21. And James Finch and Biscuits should be back. Brett Arnott, he should be back.
You talked up Biscuits as a possible Drayton medalist, and
I did.
Didn't show.
No, it didn't show. Now, I'm not sure if it's a valid reason, but he had the opportunity to play at Cathedral Golf Club on Saturday, so he took that option over Premier League.
He ditched us like a bad habit.
He did.
Oh, Biscuits.
Did love it though.
Did he?
He did. Said if you do get a chance, go.
Oh, do we give him a pass on that or not? Probably.
I reckon that is a pass.
All right, no worries, fair enough.
Yes, they should play their first games. I think the key to this one's going to be with the ladies and these higher handicapped men. Last week, 5 of the 6 counting scores came from the lower handicapped Bullies, and the Tornadoes 4 scores came from those golfers. The Bullies would like something out of Cooper McMurrich, Kev Hudson and Rob Casey, while the Tornadoes need a couple of players to play to their handicap. That didn't occur last week, so...
All right, the second match next week. This is a crunch game already. It's too early for a crunch game, but bugger it, let's go there. It's just the two teams that just deceived. What am I saying? Flattered to deceive.
They were no
What's
good.
the word? Yeah,
They failed to live up to expectations.
Still, let's go with that. The Pirates and the Goblins.
And you are correct, Hazy, this is a crunch game when you look at what's coming forward.
Okay.
Both disappointed last week. They just struggled to score, except for McMuffin, who was 38. Can't play 2 games in a row, though. Max Edmondson, 34. He was the best, obviously, for the Goblins last week. Pirates will be strengthened by Dale Pollock returning. We should see Sean Boland play his first game. Really must win for the Goblins. If they lose this, round 3, they will face the Bullies and could go 0-3, and they'd be on the back foot straight away. The women from both teams failed to flatter last week and didn't have a counted score. So Lynn Kirby, Sue Gregory, Doreen Ivers and Shirley Bell would be looking for improvement through there as well.
The third game for decision is the Warriors and the Peakers. The Peakers off to, as you said earlier, a much better start this year.
Warriors 5th, Peakers 2nd on the ladder. Peakers jumped out of the blocks last week. Obviously, we've highlighted Murray Wiley's effort. He's very consistent, so you'd expect that he's going to be playing around the handicap again. Outside of Murray's 38, 32 was the best of anyone else in those 2 teams again last week. Warriors should see the return of Josh Kent. Steve Bond is back, and Mark Maskell, while Marion Keskinen should strengthen the Peakers. Warriors need something from there. Couple of their lower handicap players in Ray Liniger and Jacob Blenner-Hassett, and also Craig Connolly. He was a bit disappointing last week. While the Peakers need Digger James, Chrissy Dodds, Barry Doyle, Lloyd Shepherd and Soupy Collins to raise their game up to nearly half the team there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a lot of raising required.
But even though the Peakers got it done last week, without those guys, so hopefully they can contribute this week.
I guess in some ways the big match, Matty, is the Crusaders and the Hookers. I mean, on paper, this should be a walkover, shouldn't it? Just Crusaders just out of the blocks and rolling against the dodgy Hookers.
You'd think so. Well, you'd think with the Hookers, obviously 178 being bottom of the ladder, but they're actually 7th, so they're actually not the worst. But yeah, the highest scoring team versus the lowest scoring team meet this week. Highest counting scores for the Hookers was Helen and Mickey McNeil at 32, while the Crusaders had 7 players score 32 or better last week. Hookers have obviously got lots of room for improvement there, as they underperformed in the first round. They'll be disappointed with their performance, and I reckon they'll have a regroup. Looks like they should have Slow Burn Ibbotson back. She's been a bit crook the last few weeks, so she missed on Saturday, so she hopes to be back, and then hopefully the youngest player, Xavier Boland, might play this week as well, so that'll be great to see. Can Pete O'Neill repeat last week's heroics? Most likely not, because as you know, last year he just put 6 games together, and they were all different times. So he didn't play 2 good ones in a row last year.
I'm backing him. I love his work.
Yeah, he's good. He's consistent, but consistently inconsistent. Bobby Gibbs, though, he'd be looking to improve. He only had 25 last week, so he'd be wanting to have something a little bit better. This could be a massacre if the hookers don't stand up this week, because the Crusaders, even last year, they were too consistent across the board, and they kept their team together. So
How many points did you say Bobby Gibbs had?
25.
Jeez, he gave me a fair bit of lip.
Did he?
Walking onto the course, yeah.
Yeah, 25 he had.
Wow, eh?
Actually, the lowest scorer out of the Crusaders team.
Extraordinary. Oh, well, good luck, Bob.
Yeah, have fun.
Well, that's it for our week 1 review, week 2 preview. Any parting thoughts, Matt?
I suppose just a couple of housekeeping matters. For the guys that have logged into the Premier League website and are having a look around at the scores, etc., you will notice there's a new event there called Team Survivor. What that is once we hit round 8 and we start the last portion of the season, the lowest scoring team will be eliminated from the Survivor competition.
Separate comp.
Separate comp. So it's a little side comp that'll be on the side there. So the lowest scoring team in each round will be eliminated, which will leave us with 2 teams for our, theoretically, a grand final of the Survivor competition.
That's in the last round of the home and away.
Yeah, so that'll be something a little extra, that even though you may not be in contention for the official finals, if your team can perform and you're not the lowest scoring team for the round, you'll continue through that. But that will start from round 8. For any of our new golfers that didn't receive an invite to the website, I have contacted Tony over the weekend to find out what happened there, and hopefully we'll get something out there, or give us a call in the pro shop and we'll see, give one of those invites out to you so you can access the portal. A reminder, if you are getting a replacement player, you need to let me know by close of business tomorrow so we can get that all emailed off into the portal, and then they'll arrange that as well. So I'm not sure if you've been purchased this week, Hazy, or if you're available, but yeah, just contact myself or Mark and we'll just make sure we can get that into the system.
Yeah. I'll try to get that information out on the email. The login stuff is probably the best way, so that everyone get it. If you haven't got the email, or your mates haven't got an email or something, it means there's some error with the email in our system, so let either of us know and we'll sort that out.
Yeah, so for anyone who's played Premier League before, you can log into the Premier League website with your original details. You can access it. It's just for anyone that's new to Premier League that we may need to follow up with.
Yeah. And one final shout from me to, we might even end up with a Ross Lyon award here at some stage, because I think we did fail to mention that, Yanni's probably the obvious winner of someone who deflects.
Oh, yeah, deflecting the problems.
The attention and the problems away from the reality. We'd like to congratulate Secura on their high-scoring efforts on Saturday afternoon. It was very pleasing for Max to walk off the course with in a losing team, and then watch his beloved Saints get bent over.
And the box of beer that he owes me is going to taste fantastic. We might even have one together, Hazy.
Oh, that's it, crew. Big thanks to Callaway, to Your Golf Pro, and to Neville Richards. Without these guys, this wouldn't happen. So appreciate that, Matty, and we'll catch you all next week for a big review of round 2.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy your week.